Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. O Allah, grant us knowledge, wisdom, and sincerity. Dear brothers and sisters, I salute you all with a salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm your host, Hatim Al-Abdussalam, and today we have a special show with an honorable guest. Our honorable guest today is Dr. Abdurrahman bin Sulaiman Al-Salmi, who is the chief editor of Al-Tafahum journal and also the head of the organizing committee of the Conference of the Islamic Jurisprudence. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor. How are you today?
Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have you on the show today. Inshallah, we wanted to discuss some points about the conference of the Islamic Jurisprudence, which is the 13th conference being held in the Sultanate this coming April, inshallah. Inshallah. Dr. Abdurrahman, to start off, to make it clear to our listeners, what is this conference that we're talking about? And how important is this conference to the Islamic nation?
Well, let me first to start about this conference. In fact, is held annually on directives of His Majesty the Sultan Qaboos bin Said, Hafidhullah, inshallah. In order, the goal of this, in fact, is to promoting and make widening horizon of reasoning and ijtihad among the various Islamic jurisprudence school, and also is interface the jurisprudence movement among Muslim schools in order to interact ideas, reasoning among them, not from only for fatwas or the legal opinions or focusing, but for develop view aiming to an expansion of the Islamic jurisprudence on Muslim themselves and others too.
So as time is changing, Dr. Abdurrahman, and the jurisprudence also, the scholars are trying their level best to practice ijtihad and to develop these areas in the religion so that they are compatible with our time.
That is also among this is, in fact, the third element. That is also the aim of this conference, categorized by it develop the rereading the heritage of Islamic jurisprudence and the British ideas to contemporary world. And that is why we are focusing on. In fact, Oman also is a distinguished school since the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is the aim. It shows from different angles. It shows that is the ijtihad movement is continuity among themselves, and also is the main part of that. It shows not only looking for the differentiation among this school, but it looks for the cross points, which is more the gathering jurisprudence in, or the main ideas which is can be among this school to be developed, or the main themes.
So here, Dr. Abdurrahman, we understand that there might be a few differences between the Islamic schools of thoughts, and the jurisprudence is there in all these Islamic school of thoughts, but we should not only focus on the differences, we should also focus on the common areas that can be implemented and developed in the Islamic world.
Of course, it is the recognition among these various Islamic schools is important. Firstly, how we look for these Islamic schools. If independently only, it's from dogmatic way, it will be complete. It has to be interface or in interaction between them. But if you recognize them, the development Islamic jurisprudence and Islamic law in different areas is immediately it's give you a wide horizontal way how this is the reasoning and developing the Islamic jurisprudence in the changing world too, from different stage since the for over 14 centuries.
Dr. Abdurrahman, for this particular conference, there is a special title given to it, which is the Human Commonalities and Benefits, Al-Mushtarak Al-Insani Wal-Masalih.
Yes.
And this title is very unique, and maybe you can tell us why we are focusing on this particular area in this conference.
Since we started the conference, we have chosen a special theme that is more specific.
The focus is more on this.
Focusing, yes. And we don't look only for a specific issue, but it's more wide how to be developed. The more thinking is in over the minding through the within scholars in jurisprudence themselves. If we take it more specific, why the human commonality this year? It implies, in fact, the issues that the common in all the humankind, like equal, and if we look for that is in the Quran, there implies 7 values that is shares and implies in the Quran. That is first about the equality, the freedom, the dignity, and belovedness, which is mean the rahmah, the justice, and at-ta'aruf, knowing each others, and promoting general good, al-khair al-am. This is the main focusing. And if we look for these values, all the humankind, it shares with these values. That is promoting by the Quran.
Can you repeat them, Dr. Abdurrahman, so that our listeners can take a note of them? You said equality, freedom.
Equality and freedom, dignity. Benevolence, justice. Ta'aruf, knowing each other. Or recognition. And promoting general good. Al-Khair Al-Am.
Promoting general good.
Yes.
There is no doubt that these values that are set in the Quran, most probably some of them will be also found in other major religions of the world, but the emphasis in the Quran is even more. And as Muslims and believers around the world, we need to focus on them and develop them in such a way they accommodate our daily lives at this time.
And that is also we connected with the interest, which is being shows through the Sharia in the Islamic jurisprudence. And we know that is the maqasid, the attention of Sharia is the 6 principles: the protecting the soul and nafs, the protecting the mind, which is min al-aql, protecting the religion, ad-deen, or protecting the spices, al-asl or al-nasl, or the family, and protecting the property, which is mean al-mulk or tamalluk.
Now, Dr. Abdurrahman,
and that will be joining between the interest of the human being and also among their values and how it's can be developed and shared together.
No doubt these values go along with each other. They cannot be separated. And as you mentioned, the human beings, these values are important for the existence of the human being to live comfortably on this planet. Now, this particular conference, Dr. Abdurrahman, why is it important to the Omani society, and why is it also important to the rest of the world?
If we take it, it's as first I mentioned, Oman has a distinguished school and developed, and Oman they shared similarly over the stage of Felix in our heritage and in the jurisprudence literatures since the early Islam. That the Omanis, we know Imam Jabir ibn Zayd. He is actually one of the major scholar in early Islam, in Islamic jurisprudence. Al-Imam al-Rabi' ibn Habib, and its continuity up to now.
Mm-hmm.
This is a quite distinguished area in the region in Arabia, which is that is civilizing the Omani over over the age. And secondly, the importance it's, as I mentioned, we try to develop the important themes. It shows the development or the excels in the Islamic jurisprudence, and we focus on that area to show why is it important. If we look for last year, we actually we deals about the coexistence, and the themes was quite important, and the even before was the theme was the jurisprudence in the changing world. How is the scholars can develop their mind, and also the religious scholars can develop their mind in the changing world to be moderating. Before also about the civilization or civilizational jurisprudence, it focuses also how the jurisprudence literatures, how is the main topics in the civilized to be even can be used in modern world or recent world. And that is the major is important. It shows for Oman, for its heritage one side, and the distinguished school from one side, and for the Muslim is became the important series of this special conference is quite unique among the jurisprudence conferences in over Muslim world or globally. Is become well known and is participating from different part of this world. The more unique in this also, we don't just invite the law or the jurisprudence scholars. Also you could find theologians, you could find historians, you could find also philosophers, and
they all share their thoughts in
they
these
share
conferences.
on one topics. That is the important, and all the conference has several topics which is they can share and they can discuss among themselves, and that is why developing the argument within among themselves, whether they are disagree or non-disagree, but it shows how is the important in crossing the points among their or sharing from different parts in that topics. And then we collect all these papers. We have editorial boards for these proceedings and became quite distinguished. And for topic it's even open in new ideas. This is one important for the topic itself. Even sometimes the papers cannot complete discuss the whole area in that topic, but for the young researchers or for the new researchers who would like, or young scholars would like to continue in that topics, now I will tell you is in that the themes for anticipation. We give a special was 5 years ago. We deal about how it can be anticipation jurisprudence too.
MashaAllah.
And that is the series of these proceedings is become quite unique over 13 conferences and documented too.
This is very interesting, Dr. Abdurrahman, that people from different backgrounds are invited to this conference. They share their views, as you have mentioned, theologians and scholars and writers and thinkers, so that all these minds come and discuss particular issues and come to conclusion and the recommendations. And speaking of recommendations, there were many recommendations in the past conferences, and how did these recommendations in the past be implemented, and whether they affected the way forward?
Yeah, and this is for organizing the conference.
Yeah.
You should. There is many, of course. If you've seen something is incorrect, you have to correct it.
Yes.
And we take each year the comments from all the scholars. They have to give their feedback.
Yes.
What they can suggest. We try to
improve it.
To improve the conference as possible.
Yes.
And we are quite. Honestly, it's there. The comments, they were very important, and we take it more serious. And we get the comment again after when we finish the conference. We meet again to present all these
comments and suggestions,
and we take it how can improve it for the next years.
What about the recommendations from the papers presented in these conferences, which are related to the jurisprudence, away from the organization of the conference? Actually, in each conference you'll have papers presented in these topics, and maybe there's recommendation for each paper or for each topic. How are they carried forward to the next level?
As I mentioned, we have different panels in the conference, and it has different topics too. So we have the proceedings. So this is open, I tell you, for the young researchers. In last year's, the ministry announced for the young jurisprudence scholar conference. It will be, and we are working on it.
Yeah.
That the possibility to improve or to develop the young scholar to follow up this important discussion, and this will be held after the general conference, only for the youth conference.
Okay, Dr. Abdurrahman, what is the role of the Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs in this conference? It's the organizing body, but how important is this conference to the Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs?
The ministry, actually, it's responsible, and the main field, it's 3 parts.
Yeah.
Of course, is al-irshad al-am, the preachings.
Yeah.
And also is the endowments.
Yeah,
awqaf. And al-ifta is the legal opinions.
Yeah.
And the 4th, which is religion education.
Yes.
That is, and this is part in different all this. If you take it from the fatwa,
yeah,
for the thinking, because ijtihad is mean the reasoning.
Yes.
And this is a part of the ijtihad and reasoning.
Yes.
And also from the preaching, and also of course from the parts of religious education.
Yeah, so it's very, very important for Wazarat al-Awqaf to have this conference, and the benefit is humongous when it comes to these conferences. Now, how many countries are participating in this conference, Dr. Abdurrahman?
The participant of this conference are from different parts of
the Islamic world.
From Arab world and Muslim world, and from different parts, from the United States, from Europe, from Russia, and from Australia.
MashaAllah. This is interesting.
So it's globally, they are coming from Africa, and so we are not limited, in fact, and it became wide annually.
As you mentioned that many countries from around the globe are participating in this in this conference. I think this is good for the conference, for the organizers, and for the ministry. It will help them to develop and raise the scale in terms of quality, in terms of development, in terms of improving and the services provided for these guests who are attending the conference. So it's always good not just to put it in a regional, like GCC regional only conference. So you have opened the doors to also European countries and countries from the African continent to join and to participate, and you know.
If we look for the topic of this conference is called development.
Yes.
The development of Islamic jurisprudence. If we take it, this topic of the title of this conference, that is, if the development everywhere, and the Muslim is a global, Islam is a global religion.
Yes.
So also they are in different school. We are gathering all the various of Islamic school together and also we're gathering all Islamic scholars from different part of the world. It's not necessary to be a part which is being called Islamic or Arabic world or Islamic. It is, we look widely who is interested in this to participate and to present a serious paper on that field. And that we didn't give us to be limited or to be quite narrow. And that is the main reason to open the ijtihad and to give wide discussion from different fields in that topic, not necessarily only from the jurisprudence itself.
Now, for the organizers of this conference, Dr. Abdurrahman, do they send out invitations to the participants, or do they advertise for it, or is it set on a particular date every year on an annual basis that this is the time where the conference will be held, and then everybody from the rest of the world, they know about the conference, and then they sign in for participation? How is it done as organizers? How do you do it? Yeah.
It's very interesting. Firstly, it's this conference held in the second week of April annually, and this year it will be held from 6 to 9 of April and under the auspices of His Excellency Dr. Yahya bin Mahfoud al-Mandari, the President of the State Council. Secondly, about the participants, we are actually selected the best in that field, and we chose because each year we have different topics, so we know who could present in that field or could develop the topic in that particular field.
Yes.
And we selected most of that scholar to show that
their point of view in that particular field.
We don't make any more announcement we are not trying just collecting papers or collecting many people to come. We are more selective in this particular, and that we are mentioned the editorial board of the proceeding next. That's give more unique to the conference.
Yes.
Is who will be participate. Also, his paper will be published, and that is also is giving him an advantage when it will be published later, and the topic which will be also it is developed later in the theme itself. But if you in your mind to look in serious topic in the field, you will find is this proceeding a reference.
Yes.
And is an important part to look on it. and being required now globally in all the faculty of Sharia and law in the world.
When it comes to the theme of these conferences, how does the committee sit and decide on what should be the theme for this year or for the coming year? Is there any particular criteria that you're looking for, or is it a consensus between the scholars? Like previous year, before the end of the conference, the scholars and the people who participate in this conference, they decide on what is the theme for the next year. So what is the process? How
the process, it takes long. It's when we finish this conference, immediately we started to prepare for the next year conference. It takes a year seriously. Then we have many suggestions. We make a short study of each topic, which will be benefit and it can be fit for the next year. Then also again we send it to His Excellency. So it's making the decision for which is the more direct. And Sheikh Abdullah, His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah As-Salmi, he is giving the more or less the decision, the final decision.
The directions.
For the conference.
Are there any publications or these recommendations that are the outcome of these conference? Are they published in books or in any form so that the public who did not participate in this conference can also benefit from what the discussion has been going on?
We have the website, we have, as I mentioned, we collect all the papers, we publish it, and also most of the media, the newspaper, journals, channels, broadcasting, they cover all the news of this conference.
So media is present in the conference.
Indeed. This year more than 12 channels
will be broadcasting the conference.
Yes, will cover the channels and also broadcastings, and nearly 68 journalists from over the world will come to cover the news.
Is this conference unique for Oman only, or is it a similar conference is done somewhere else in the world?
Well, I have not. As I told you in the beginning, this is directed by His
Majesty,
blessing by His Majesty. We actually, quite unique. We are actually make recognition of our Islamic heritage. All the various school is being recognized. So this is very important. We look for our heritage. We're not denying. Every time, if you look that in any conference, they try to be hiding this variety of Islamic schools. In Oman, it shows like the tolerance in this conference, how to look on our heritage, how we could recognize other school, how we should listen to other school, and if you look each year, must be a topic or two topics in each school particular. It has to present their view in that field, either reading a book or reading a thought of a scholar, and to be presented in that field.
You have mentioned something very important, Dr. Abdurrahman, which is the concept of tolerance, which is very much needed in today's world, where calamities around the Arab and Islamic world, and the Muslim world is like an injured man that needs cure, and the cure is through tolerance. Now, conferences like this one promote this concept of tolerance. Does the ministry think deeply in the terms of tolerance on how to propagate more this concept to other nations as well, and to other schools of thoughts, so that they can live together and have a better understanding and practice this tolerance among themselves?
Firstly, the tolerance is a global responsibility and a common responsibility by all the human being now.
Yes.
It's needed for everyone. And the ministry promoting the tolerance from different fields. Firstly, we published the journal Tasamah, which has been tolerance.
Yes.
That is since 2003.
It came in many volumes, I think.
Quarterly.
Yeah.
Secondly, and now it became At-Tafahum, is multi-understanding. Then we also through this conference, it shows the tolerance. Oman promoting tolerance over these 14 years. If you've seen this concept, it's become widely used recently in Arab world.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Through this journal, through this practicing, through their exhibition, through the lectures which has been invited in Oman over this decade, and it's an open dialogue among different, even between the Muslims themselves and also the Muslim with others. That is quite distinguished. Is over the last 15 years, the ministry hosting annually several scholars to present in the Grand Mosque their lecture, and it's give also for the public to be discussed with them openly and open-minded.
What do you think made this formula of tolerance more acceptable in Oman than anywhere else in the Islamic world? What made tolerance work in Oman and it failed maybe in other places in the Islamic world? What's so special about Oman?
The root of Oman, it's the heritage of Oman. Oman is an open over the ocean, which is give them quite open-minded to other worlds since or ancient times. That is, Oman they are sailors.
Yes.
So this is given quite unique or distinguished. And also the Oman states is protecting the citizenship. It's very important through their constitution and develop the equality through the values of the freedom, the dignity for the human being. All this has been protected by the government. And that His Majesty promoting this concept when establishes the shared Abrahamic shared values, was a quite unique chair.
Now, Dr. Abdurrahman, if we get into more details about the conference, what are some of the papers that will be presented in the upcoming conference?
The present title, as we mentioned, that is about the human commonality and interest. The reason is actually emanated for the fact about the Islamic ethics and also Islamic values, intellectual, but we focus in 5 main themes about, firstly, to discuss the concepts. Then secondly, we will discuss about the main values, especially the equality and with the dignity, and then justice and the human rights and how. Then the third points will be discussed about present some cases in Islamic heritage from different school of Islamic jurisprudence, the Ibadi, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Al-Maliki, Hanbali, Shia Twelfers, Shia Zaidi,
Ja'fari.
12ers, Ja'fari, and Al-Zahiriya. Then we'll take also example for even some scholars. Then next we focus also on other point how these can share it in the new constitutions. Especially we make how the Islamic law can be fit in when about with other institution like in France Constitution and the Human Rights Declaration, American Independence Declaration, also then later we will discuss about some constitution being developed within modernity of Islam is like the Human Rights Constitution or the Muslim Human Rights Constitution. This is the main areas it will be covered all in the conference.
Dr. Abdurrahman, what are your expectations from this upcoming conference? What do you wish to see in the participants of this conference?
We are pleased that you could see various scholars from different parts, from different schools. They are sharing in when they came and sit together and share the friendship, share their views, share their discussion, and that is also it shows we learn from them and they learn from us. That is very important. I seen as many of young Omani scholars. They attend this conference and they discuss with these scholars.
Yes.
And in different topics and they show what is they are interested on it.
Yes. Any final words, Dr. Abdurrahman, especially for the audience who will not be attending the conference? What should they do in terms of trying to follow, let's say, through your website or to promote this conference? What advice do you want to give to our audience?
Well, the conference is very simple. Is how to learn. Or the Islam is actually emphasized for learning. And how is the learning is how to get a new knowledge and remove or delete a new ignorance from in your mind.
Yes.
And that is how to develop your mind.
Yes.
I am sure it is not necessary just for to be attending, but how to learn from this conference and how making this really practicing in yourself with others. That is the importance to be learned. Al-Iman qawlan wa amal. So this is what we learn from our religion.
Dr. Abdurrahman bin Sulaiman Al-Salmi, the chief editor of the At-Tafahum journal from the Ministry of Endowment and Religious Affairs, and also the head of the organizing committee of the Islamic Jurisprudence Conference, which will be held this April, inshallah. Thank you very much, Doctor, for your time, and we wish you all the success and the blessings. And we're looking forward to hear about the conference and the outcome of the conference. And in advance, we welcome our guests to our lovely country, Oman, and we wish them a pleasant stay in Oman.
Thank you very much.